Welcome! I'm Dylan St. Amand, and today we've got more exciting stuff for you. In this second episode of our new show, we've brought in 3 more talented miniature painters, each with a unique style and vision. Once again, they'll be taking on models themed around the same concept. While the models may have slight differences, theme ties them all together. That theme? This time, it's lizardmen. This is Creative Differences.
My name's Anthony Warren. I've been painting miniatures for about 4 years, sometime into COVID. I start off with my first mini, which I printed off a 3D, a filament printer. Printed off a Brachydios from Monster Hunter, painted that up, and I just fell in love since.
So I'm David Coffin, and I've been painting since high school, probably that's about 17 years, I think. The first stuff I painted was a couple of undead miniatures that the art teacher gave me when we were playing Wartime. And so some of them, they were just like skeletons and zombies and stuff, but some of them were like just like stuff he cobbled together. So like I had a skeleton that was just a pair of legs with a head glued on.
Okay.
And I just used his paints, and I didn't know what I was doing. They turned out okay for my first ones, but then I went and bought some HeroQuest miniatures because I recognized them, and I got them for like 20 cents a mini at the local hobby shop. So I ended up with like 10 of these HeroQuest figures. And so those were the first ones that I painted that were actually mine. But again, I didn't know what I was doing, so I went to the store and bought some hobby paint. They were oil-based. I didn't know. I didn't know what the difference was. So my first minis that were mine properly were oil-based, and they're very shiny.
Okay, my name is Marie-Pierre Guibard. I just go by Marie. And I've been painting minis for like 4 months, maybe? Not a lot. I was painting like actual canvases and stuff before though. So I've been drawing and painting for a long time, but minis, it's very recent.
I start off there and I was like, okay, where do I go from here? How do I start painting more miniatures? Obviously, Warhammer is a very big thing. I was following a YouTuber called Quite Shallow, who did a bunch of Warframe content, started up the Adeptus Ridiculous podcast. So since that podcast started, I was like, okay, I'm all in.
It's a big Warhammer demon, not Bloodletter, but Bloodthirster, and it's just a big winged demon, and it was one of the first ones I painted with the airbrush, and so like the transitions and the shadows and stuff just came out really nicely. It's probably my best one to date, but I've done a couple others big models with the airbrush that have turned out really nicely, but that first one I think still pops the most. And I find my big models turn out way better than my small ones. I think you have more room to do transitions and shadows and stuff, right? So
It starts with like your normal like kitty, sun in the corner, smiley face. But then I had a really, really nice art teacher, both in middle school and in high school. And that really made me like grow into the artist I am today, I guess. So my favorite thing to paint would be landscapes, but I've painted a lot of like horses and like dogs and cats and stuff like that.
I've never really painted up like a D&D miniature. Like it was always kind of a thing I wanted to try out and do, but a lot of the times when I would be doing D&D, it was Roll20 or something, the website. Everything's online. I was playing Shadowrun at the time, and so like no physical miniatures, but so yeah, it's mostly just been Warhammer. More painting rather than playing, but it's definitely been picking up.
Proud of would be the house, I think. Yeah, like I wasn't sure how I was gonna do the tile, and I think it turned out to look like actual tile. And I was really excited to use like the grass, and I kind of went overboard, but that's okay.
It came broken. We'll get this on the recording. It came broke.
I did not break it.
Oh,
Oh shit. I have plans.
it's cute.
I've never painted a lizard, but I have painted dragons. Not the same thing. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I'm going to be starting with the airbrush. I want to get all of the base coat done with the airbrush. Ideally, I am hoping to maybe do a bit of a light source on it, and that's something that airbrushes are really good at. I do like using airbrushes for larger models. Usually, I don't normally do it on a small model, but I'm going to try it on this, see how it goes, and maybe I'll start using it on smaller models more frequently. Airbrush really good for the first coat because it lets you get different transitions. If you're gonna have like a different underbelly color transitioning into like a darker back or something. So that's kind of the hope here of how it's gonna turn out. But we're gonna see, because I'm not entirely sure on what my color scheme is gonna look like. Probably gonna be a lot of browns, and we're gonna try to give them a bit of a lighter underbelly, and that's what we're gonna start with and go from there.
All right, so right now, since this is a very like textured model, I'm doing a technique called dry brushing. So you take some paint, do a little dab in the paint, you wick off as much as you'd like on a paper towel. Generally, it's better to do it on like a textured surface, just so you're not removing like the moisture from the dry brush. It's meant to be dry. It's not meant to be Sahara Desert dry. Then afterwards, you just brush over the model in a back and forth motion, depending on where the light's being placed. Generally, it can be just in a downward motion, just so you're not catching like the sections that should be in shadow. I kind of started off with a purple undertone, building up to a blue, which will then go into turquoise. After the initial steps are kind of laid down, I'm either going to be starting the detail on the scales, or I'm going to move over to the metallics. Crank that out as like either a dry brush as well. I'm still trying to figure that out, but yeah.
All right, so far, I did go with the having a black base, a little like Godzilla-like, but he's shiny. He's got some silver to him. And I decided to leave the spikes white, but they're gonna be silvery as well. And the armor, I went for like a terracotta red with some copper, I guess you could call it. It's a shiny copper. And yeah, that's what I got so far. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with the axe itself and like the necklace. Because I don't want to go with like colors that will contrast too much. So yeah, we'll see on that one.
So now that the airbrush base coat is done, I'm just doing some more base coat on the back, on the spikes, and anywhere else that I wasn't able to get just with the airbrush. The rest of the model is still a little wet, so I'm hoping it'll dry quickly. It should, because of how thin the coat is with the airbrush, because I want to move on to dry brushing. And we will see how long it takes to dry, and I'll just keep doing base coat on some of the detail spots, like his armor, until I feel like his body is dry enough to whip out the airbrush or the dry brush, and we will go from there and just keep on trucking until I feel like it's done.
And that wraps up another episode of Creative Differences. 3 painters, 1 theme, some incredible interpretations of these models. A huge thank you to Rescale Miniatures for creating the fantastic minis we use today. We purchased these directly from their online store at myminifactory.com, so be sure to check them out if you'd like to pick up some for yourself. You can find more information in the description below. Don't forget to visit our website, www.silverdicesociety.com, to stay up to date with all of our projects, episodes, and tabletop inspiration. There's always something exciting happening at Silver Dice Society. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a like, leave a comment, let us know which miniature was your favorite, and don't forget to subscribe to Silver Dice Society for more painting, gaming, and all things tabletop. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Creative Differences.